Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know I said in the last video that I didn't really know what else to talk about or what else I should do to my channel, but this has been something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time, and I think now that I'm talking about it, I think this is the right time to talk about it, because I know on June every year in the United States it's Pride Month, and I know a lot of people talk about Pride around every year or so, at least here in the United States. I'm pretty sure maybe in most other first world countries they might have something similar too. I mainly want to talk about why nowadays I don't really get involved with like Pride events or really even celebrating it anymore, and I want to talk about it because this has been egging on in my mind for a long time, even like after many years of when the bill was created for people who are part of the LGBT community to get married in the United States all over every state here back in 2015. Once that happened, I mean, the LGBT community went nuts after that, and I mean really nuts. So I wanted to talk about this because ever since basically the whole woke SJW community was really a thing back during the mid 2010s to now, the LGBT community is not the same when I was like growing up as a child, and I wanted to talk to you guys why I don't really get involved in like Pride events or really even celebrating anymore. And for those who are wondering, no, I'm not anti-gay, I'm not anti-lesbian, anti-bisexual, anti-transgender. I'm none of those things. I pretty much actually growing up that love is love, and if you were born this way and this is how you feel, we don't have a problem. The main reasons why I don't get involved with it is the first reason, and that has become a very far leftist community. We are aware that part of the LGBT community has been mostly like in the Democratic Party for many years, even like back in like the 70s and 80s, and even before then, you know, mostly the liberals were supporting it more back then. Let's also remember, it's not mainly just a Democratic thing, because here's the thing, there's even people part of the LGBT community, they might be conservative and might not be a far leftist, like at all. Like, there are people who are in the community who are just sick of this shit too. It's not just me as an outsider who just grew up around people who came out as gay or even bisexual. And I've noticed this a lot, especially around on like social media, mainly X, aka Twitter, where they have just said that they don't really want to get involved in Pride events anymore because it's sexualizing the community too much, to the point where kids are getting involved. And honestly, I don't really blame those who are part of the community who don't get involved with that, because when you are part of the community so much, where children are being taught things like about gender identity to the extreme, where they are taught about kinks and fetishes when they're not even at that certain age where they're not supposed to know about this. And even to the point where being gay, transgender, lesbian, bisexual, or if you want to even go further, the questioning, non-binary, and whatever the frick the rest is even called, if you want to call it that, are getting to so extreme that they have threatened schools if they are not taught this in public schools, if they're not taught this in libraries or in any public events. It's gotten out of control, where even PBS, like Sesame Street, has even become woke. And I could tell you, somebody who grew up with that show for many years, my childhood show, it's not the same like it was before, and it makes my 4-year-old soul cry knowing that. The other reason why I don't really get involved with like Pride every month now is mainly not just because of the far left extremeness, but because There's an ideology where if you're not agreeing with 100% everything that is being taught, then you're a bigot, or you're quote-unquote homophobic, or transphobic, or biphobic, or some shit. Sorry. Excuse me for that. But yet, at the same time, they are wondering why the community has dropped down since then. It's because when you force an ideology onto people where it's so extreme, nobody wants to be a part of it. And I hate to say it is, the reason why all this homophobia, transphobia, whatever shit has expanded over time is not because of religious fanatics, believe it or not. At least not here in America. It is because of the extreme ideology that the far left has got into the LGBT community, where they don't want anything involved in it, to the point where you're getting children involved when there are a lot of things children around at that certain ages, between when they're born to even high school, where they shouldn't even get involved to, where you're saying,
oh yeah, children can be trans and they can have puberty blockers and surgeries before they're 18.
I'm going to just say this this is going to be controversial to say this. I'm in support for people who are transgender, but what I do not support are people sterilizing and permanently damaging children's bodies. They're at the point where they're even allowing children to get puberty blockers, and I'm sorry, that is child abuse. I don't care how you put that out as liberating, or, oh, well, what if the kid didn't want that? They're at that age where they don't even know what they want yet. And they're at that age where they're still even experimenting themselves of who they are. And when you're telling children,
oh yeah, it's okay to sterilize kids, it's okay to just give them puberty blockers and you know, get them bottom or top surgery before the age of 18.
It's child abuse. I don't care how you put it. I did know somebody who is transgender from the time they were around in high school, believe it or not, even before the whole movement became a far leftist thing, believe it or not. But I don't think that person really got bottom surgery, or even if they did get bottom surgery, until right after the age of 18, from what I heard about this person I know personally. Now, we're just acquaintances, we're not really friends per se, but I have known him for many years, and I actually even knew him back all the way in elementary school before, you know, he came out as a transgender man at the time. And I know some people don't like to bring that up, but again, like, if you are part of that community, you can't erase your entire past either. And one of the other reasons why I don't really get involved with Pride really much is because it's become a very self-absorbed and even narcissistic movement now. It used to be where you are accepted no matter what, to the point where, well, if you don't agree with everything, then you're dead to us, basically, and that's an awful thing to think about. Like, there's even people who have transitioned before, and then they decided they wanted to detransition, and guess what happens? They get axed off a part of that community now, and it's disgusting to me, because there's been plenty of people who have nowadays ended themselves. I'm not going to say the word, because the last time I said it, YouTube actually age restricted my video last time, that have ended themselves so bad, and wasn't because of even religious fanatics so much. Now, sometimes it is still the case in certain parts of the US, but it's mostly a third world, second world country issue more than it is here in first world problems now. And unfortunately, now the people that are ending themselves that are part of the community isn't because, you know, they've been called horrible slurs to them about their sexuality or their gender now. It's more of, if you don't agree with us, or if you're defending this person, we're gonna literally dox your ass, or we're gonna harass you, or we're going to basically make death threats of you. And unfortunately, that's what happened to one of Dave Chappelle's friends who was a transgender woman, because during that controversy, when Dave Chappelle, you know, when people were accusing him of being transphobic, which, by the way, I don't think he ever was. You have to understand he's a very edgy comedian. He's been that way since he first came out. I actually really like Dave Chappelle a lot. I think he's a really funny comedian and honestly tells better jokes than what most millennials say nowadays. But guess what happened? That woman who stood up for him, who was a transgender woman, gotten death threats from the SJW community, the woke community, and parts of the LGBT community who have threatened her to the point of death where she took her own life because of it. And if you're that kind of person who defends that because of minor or beliefs that are not 100% yours, and I'm not talking about people like who are extremely racist or extremely homophobic where they're like actually hateful and they're actually threatening people, like those members of like the KKK or the Westbound Church, whatever. I'm not talking about that. If you're like literally making death threats or harassing people on like even things that are not 100% yours, if they voted for Trump or if they have a certain beliefs on the community, whatever, that's not against the community, but it's not 100% your ideology and you're okay with them saying,
"Oh, I'm so glad that person is dead because they weren't one of us, because they didn't believe in everything we did."
If you're that kind of person, go fuck off. I want nothing to do with you if you're that kind of person. That tells me more about you than anything else. You don't get to say that to people like that who you probably don't even know what they're going through. That's one of the other reasons why I don't really get involved in Pride, mostly because it's a very narcissistic, self-absorbed hive mind. It's not the same like when I was growing up back in middle school or even high school. I've even seen videos of people part of the LGBT community who don't even want to get involved in Pride, really, anymore. I mean, I'm gonna show you these videos right here. These are the best examples, and all of these videos come from people who are part of the LGBT community, who are just sick of the bullshit. And when you heard about all of the commotion at Target's not really selling Pride stuff, they are some of it. I went to Target recently, not too long ago. There is some of it, but it is mostly like 4th of July stuff. So it is mostly true what's going on with the whole business is not getting involved in most of that anymore, because even most corporations now, it looks bad on them knowing that most of the community is toxic now. And I've said this even when I was talking about my 2 videos on being a conservative goth. It's that it's the same situation over in the goth community now. If you don't agree 100% everything, then you're not technically goth, you're just a poser in their eyes if you're not woke now, if you are not a far leftist now. And that's not a good ideology on that community either. There is a reason why I made videos that I talked about against Milo Stewart, and even one video on Jeffrey Marsh. Like, there's a reason why I talk about these things, because they don't even just get to people anymore, people who are part of the LGBT community. Now they'll just get on to anybody who might even be straight or try to turn them gay or some bullshit, which that's not how a sexual orientation works, guys. Like, most of us nowadays here in America are not forcing you to become straight anymore like it's the 1950s again. So why are you trying to force us to... I don't get it. And even people who have a preference or not, who don't sleep or date transgender people, they are automatically transphobic. That's not true either. So you're also probably wondering on the top of your head too, if you are wondering, because I have said this before on my channel that I also have autism. Now part of the LGBT like woke community now they go more people who have autism now. That's why I talk against so much about that, what they do now too, because they even come to people like me who are part of the spectrum, who aren't woke or who are not part of the LGBT community, but they insist that they are, even even if they're not. I'm a heterosexual woman, and just because I dye my hair unnaturally bright colors, that doesn't mean I want to be part of that community. And I'm almost kind of wondering I should dye my hair black again, just because I don't want that stereotype to go against me, who just wants to express myself but also not make everything political like the woke SJWs usually do. I just want to live how I want to live. So if I can even say that, there's plenty of people who are part of the LGBT community who aren't woke, who aren't part of the SJW far leftist community, who are just, they just want to go on with their life. They're just gay, they're just bi, they're just trans. Like, they don't want anything. That's all they just wanted to just do, is just be a human being. And I think that's another reason why a lot of the pride events and a lot of the pride specials and all of that goes around every year fail to understand, just because it's not your way of being yourself, that doesn't mean that's not their way of being themselves. You know, everybody's different, everybody's human. I just wish they really understand that. But yeah, that's really my main gist against the whole Pride Month now, because I'm not anti-LGBT by any means, but I'm also somebody to believe in common sense and free speech, and a lot of that whole pride and the far leftists think that if they take away free speech, it's going to be better. No. If anything, it just makes it just as bad, if not worse. What do you guys think? I let those videos I just showed you as great examples. That's all I have to really say. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you like more of my content and you're not subscribed yet, go ahead and subscribe to my channel. And I also have my link tree, as always, with my art shops and social media, including my Patreon down below, as always. Have a great day, take care of yourself, and stay safe.